Welcome to today's deep dive. I'm your host, and well, today we are exploring this kind of modern illusion of a borderless world. We've got a real-world stress test from a highly experienced traveler to guide us.
Right. I'm the expert for today's dive, and we're really digging into what happens when that invisible, high-tech safety harness of global coverage just entirely
Yeah,
vanishes.
exactly. Because, you know that feeling, right? When you cross a border, you look down at your phone and realize your seamless digital connection has just completely evaporated.
Oh, absolutely. It's a perfect collision between the software we trust and the physical reality that we, frankly, just completely ignore most of the time.
Yeah. So to explore the mechanics behind this, we are unpacking a specific blog post. It's titled "The Global eSIM That Wasn't Quite Global," and it's from the site Wanderlust Over 70.
And the author, Roberta Hill, is, well, she is not someone you want to underestimate.
No. Definitely not. Her travel resume is serious. We're talking about someone who recently tackled the Galapagos, Machu Picchu, South Africa, and she even did this incredible 80-day world trip.
Right, from Route 89 in Arizona all the way to Portugal.
Exactly. And she operates on this travel philosophy that I just love. She says, it is not about money, but desire.
Which is such a crucial framing for this whole discussion.
Yeah.
She's not just a casual vacationer, seeking the path of least resistance.
Right.
She's an explorer, but she relies heavily on modern logistics to actually make that exploration viable at scale.
Okay, let's unpack this, because Roberta is navigating the world with this mindset of discovery, but she's doing it in an era where, honestly, we expect our tech to just quietly handle all the friction for us.
Yeah, we really do.
And specifically, she relies heavily on eSIMs.
Which, to be fair, represents a massive, massive shift in how we handle international travel. I mean, if you go back even a decade, crossing a border meant dealing with a just incredibly hostile roaming economics.
Oh, the worst.
Your home telecom provider would charge you like these absurd per megabyte rates just to load a single email.
Yeah. The alternative was that sheer panic of landing in a foreign country. You're dragging your luggage through a terminal and you're desperately hunting for one of those local SIM card kiosks.
Oh yeah, squinting at the tiny plastic cards.
Exactly. And trying to perform microsurgery with a paperclip on the side of your phone right in the middle of a crowded airport terminal.
Hoping you don't drop the tray on the floor.
Right, and you had to guess how long the plan would last. Plus, you're removing your primary phone number from the device entirely.
Because a traditional SIM, which stands for Subscriber Identity Module, by the way, is a hard-coded physical chip. It's tied to one specific carrier.
So when eSIMs came along, Roberta, like a lot of us, viewed them as a total miracle. She switched to the Airalo Discover Global plan.
Which promises coverage in over 130 countries.
Right, which is a huge appeal for someone who literally bounces between continents. You download it once and you feel digitally invincible. But I have to ask you, the listener, have you ever just blindly trusted a product because it had the word global in the name?
What's fascinating here is the technical mechanism of what she is actually doing. Because an eSIM, or embedded SIM, is actually a rewritable chip permanently soldered into your phone's motherboard at the factory.
Wait, so it's already in the phone when you buy it?
Exactly.
Hmm.
So when Roberta buys a global plan through an app like Airalo, she's not buying a direct connection to a satellite or something. She's just downloading a tiny software profile.
Ah, okay.
And that profile contains the digital credentials that tell her phone's radio receiver which local cell towers it is legally allowed to talk to.
And that distinction is really where the illusion begins, right?
Yes, because it creates this powerful psychological comfort. The word global implies a unified system. But Airalo, or really any global eSIM provider, they don't actually own a single physical cell tower.
Wait, really? Not one?
Not one. They are aggregators. They operate as MVNOs, mobile virtual network operators. They go out and negotiate wholesale roaming agreements with hundreds of different local telecom providers around the world, and then stitch them together into one software package.
So it's like a patchwork quilt of local networks.
Exactly.
Which explains a crucial early warning sign that Roberta actually mentions in her post.
Right, from her previous trip to South Africa.
Yeah, she noted that her Airalo plan technically covered South Africa, but the connection was highly unpredictable. She said her phone would just act like it was in a desert with no towers, even when coverage technically existed.
And that's the catch with aggregators.
Yeah.
You're entirely at the mercy of whichever specific local network partner Airalo contracted with in that specific region.
So if their partner has weak towers in that province?
Your global connection is weak. The aggregator can only offer the baseline quality of the local hardware they're renting.
Wow. Okay, so she got this glimpse of the digital seams holding the global promise together. But, she brushed it off as a glitch.
Which is fair. It worked well enough eventually.
Right. But because she brushed off that South African warning sign as a one-off, she walked right into a digital trap on her next major trip.
The January 2025 Caribbean cruise.
Exactly. And her strategy here actually makes perfect sense. Knowing that cruise ship Wi-Fi charges like luxury hotel prices for a perpetually spinning loading icon.
Oh, it's brutal. You have 3,000 passengers sharing a single satellite uplink.
Right. So her plan was simple. Use the global eSIM ashore, skip the ship's Wi-Fi entirely, and if she really needs it, just find a cafe.
A very solid, seasoned traveler strategy.
And it worked perfectly for the first 3 ports. They dock, she walks off, her phone pings the tower, and she has instant access to maps and emails.
But then they docked in Antigua and Barbuda.
Yes.
Yeah.
And she had 0 signal. Not slow, not weak, just absolutely nothing.
Total blackout.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though, because I have to push back on Roberta's preparation just a little bit here. I mean, shouldn't a seasoned traveler have checked the coverage map?
Well, she admits in her post that she simply forgot to check if Antigua was specifically on that 130-country list.
Right, but still, 80-day world traveler, you'd think she'd check.
You'd think, but again, this is what the word global does to our brains. You get complacent. And when you're island hopping on a cruise, you aren't just moving across water. You are crossing invisible, complex digital borders every single day.
Oh, right, because every island nation has its own telecom regulations and its own physical infrastructure.
Exactly. A cell tower in Barbados is completely legally and technically severed from a cell tower in Antigua. So your phone is essentially starting from scratch at every port, trying to negotiate entry into a new sovereign network.
So, realizing she made this geographical oversight, Roberta tries to just throw money and new tech at the problem.
Which leads to this frantic multi-provider experiment.
She and her travel companion Louise hunt down one of the few cafes near the port with free Wi-Fi. And Roberta buys a new Aerolo Caribbean regional plan.
Because she assumes, logically, that the global plan just didn't cover this specific region.
Right. It's about $10, 1 gigabyte for 3 days. It installs perfectly, activates instantly, but still, 0 reception.
Okay, so she thinks maybe Aerolo is down.
Exactly. So she tries a major competitor called Saley for Louise's phone. Another $10, 1 gigabyte for 7 days. Perfect installation. And again, no reception.
2 different providers, 2 different phones, same result.
But wait, it gets crazier. Because before the trip, Roberta had actually installed a GigSki cruise-specific eSIM using a 500 megabyte free trial.
Ah, as a backup.
Yeah, to avoid the ship's Wi-Fi. It activated perfectly, but she said it never connected to anything useful during the entire cruise.
Wow.
Honestly, this is like buying 3 different brands of umbrellas during a hurricane, only to find out none of them actually open.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, that analogy is perfect. Because the failure of Aerolo, Saley, and GigSki proves the issue wasn't the phone hardware, and it wasn't the specific app providers.
Right, the software worked. It said activated.
The apps did their job perfectly. The bottleneck was the hyper-local infrastructure and local network partner agreements in Antigua specifically.
So what was actually happening when her phone was trying to connect?
It comes down to something called quality of service, or QoS. A cell tower only has so much radio spectrum. When a cruise ship dumps thousands of people onto an island at the exact same time, the local tower gets immediately congested.
Oh, so it's literally a traffic jam.
A massive one. And the local telecom has to prioritize that traffic.
Yeah.
Tier 1 goes to their direct, post-paid local citizens.
The people who actually live there and pay them directly.
Right. And the absolute lowest priority tier belongs to wholesale roaming profiles, like Roberta's. The tower sees her Aerolo profile and essentially puts her at the very back of a line that isn't moving.
So all 3 of those providers, Aerolo, Saley, GigSki, they were probably all using the same overwhelmed local network.
Highly likely. They were all knocking on the exact same locked door, just wearing 3 different digital hats.
Man, that is so frustrating. So defeated, they just board the ship, leave Antigua, and basically assume their phones are permanently glitched.
Not them.
Then, the spontaneous recovery. The next morning in Dominica, they wake up and their phones instantly receive full data.
Like magic.
Maps, messages, everything. The exact same perfect connection happens later in Barbados. And when they finally return to Puerto Rico, it's as if the blackout week was entirely imagined.
because the local infrastructure in those ports was either more robust or their eSIM providers had better priority agreements there.
Her ultimate takeaway from all this was that eSIMs do save time and simplify planning. But when you're island hopping, local carriers and infrastructure just vary wildly.
Very wildly.
So what does this all mean? I really want you, the listener, to consider how quickly we abandon our tech solutions the absolute second they fail us.
This raises an important question, though, because despite all this space-age technology, what was Roberta's final, brilliantly simple conclusion?
Oh, the analog backup.
Exactly. The most reliable backup is the one travelers have used for decades. You find a cafe, you buy a coffee, and you politely ask for the Wi-Fi password.
It's the ultimate analog backup plan in a digital world, because that cafe's Wi-Fi router is hardwired. It completely sidesteps the congested wireless airspace.
It's tethered to the ground. If the wireless protocol fails, you need a wired protocol.
Right. So just to summarize this deep dive for you all, the convenience of global tech tools like eSIMs is undeniably revolutionary. But at the end of the day, they are ultimately at the mercy of hyperlocal infrastructure.
A global app doesn't mean global hardware.
Precisely. Which leaves me with a final, somewhat provocative thought for you to mull over. We tend to think of the internet and digital connectivity as this, invisible cloud that floats above us globally, right?
Yeah, that's the mental model we all have.
But if our seamless global tech relies entirely on physical, hyper-local infrastructure, like a specific cellular tower on a specific island, are we actually more tethered to local physical geography today than we were before mobile internet even existed?
It's a fascinating paradox. The tool that promises to detach us actually makes us completely dependent on local variations.
Exactly. So next time you cross a border, just remember how physical that invisible connection really is. Thank you so much for joining this deep dive. We really respect your time and curiosity, and we'll catch you on the next one.